Yes! Look at Al's face. This is a top performance! Look at Al's face!
I think the message from Righty is loud and clear. It is not done. I think we heard that.
Ooh, it's not done.
We're happy with that performance.
To be honest, Al, it was like I said, it was a great game for us, especially the first goal. But, you know, listening to people saying about the boys of like the experienced players have not turned up in games, not done well since we got knocked out of Europe, simply because of a few hiccupy results at a time of the season where people are putting under pressure. I think that kind of result, going to that St James's Park at this stage of the season against a Newcastle side in the best form of the season at the right time for them and beating them is an unbelievable result for us.
You need a sip of water. Have one, and we'll get some reaction from inside the Arsenal dressing room. Jorginho, and first of all, the captain, Martin Odegaard.
Guys, well done. Martin, every question that's been asked about this team in the last few weeks, did you answer them all and more with that?
I think we chose something special today. To come here and win is not easy. The way we did it as well. We had to be very smart. We have to be a bit ugly at times. And I think this is a big step for us, a young team coming here and doing all the things we do. I think is shows we've come a long way.
Jorginho, how are those legs?
Kind of. It will be better tomorrow and the day after, I think. But the most important that we go home with 3 points. What we wanted. And we know this league. We know sometimes we can't win every game playing beautiful football the way we want. And I'm really pleased to see our team can play this kind of games, understand that sometimes it's not possible, it's not easy to go through just with passes, and sometimes you need to fight. And I'm very proud of the team, the way it fought into the end.
They certainly did. And they took the lead, of course, after that reversal of the penalty in the first half. 15th of the season without a single penalty for Martin Odegaard.
Brilliant season. Cesc Fabregas levels, talking how great he was, but you can see where too much time and too much space for somebody who does find that, that kind of scenario, gets that time and space. You can see Joe Linton's too late, and that going through the legs has caused Nick Pope all sorts of problems. You can see it here. You see Joe Linton, he should have been already on his way out there. He should have been there, so then by the time this gets to Odegaard, or you dissuade him from passing it to Odegaard, you're closer, not close enough, and then bam, that's enough. That's enough time, it's enough space.
I thought Arsenal's midfield were really good today. When you go up against Bruno, Joe Linton and Willock, particularly at St James's Park, you've got to be brave, you've got to be strong, you've got to be ready for the fight that you're going to have. And I thought they stood up to it really well today. Really impressed with their midfield.
Newcastle did start both halves very quickly. Second half at 1-0.
Yep.
Again, a little bit more composure. There were fine lines today, weren't they?
Yeah, there were. But when you get your chances, you've got to take them against the best teams. And Newcastle didn't today. They started really well. They hit the post. I thought tad unlucky with the penalty being overturned as it was. But then you get chances again in the second half.
This one.
Then this one again. I mean, yes, that's a really good save, but it should be in the back of the net. It's a good ball in. Look, you're in the middle of the goal. You can go either side of the goalkeeper, but you go basically straight at him. And that was the difference when Arsenal had theirs. I mean, that is a wonderful tackle as well from Xhaka, wasn't it, coming back all that way? Willock's just about to pull the trigger there. Last-ditch tackle, and I thought they did really well there midfield.
Yeah, Arsenal saw Newcastle hit the woodwork in the first 3 minutes of both halves, and then this sealed it in the end. Cher was involved at one end and then ultimately Righty at the other.
Well, this is what I was hoping that Arsenal would do. You can soak up the pressure. You know that Newcastle are going to continue to come, and then try and get yourself in a situation where this kind of situation, one-on-one, you're going in, yes, you get a bit of luck there, but you're capable of soaking that pressure up, and you've got the players, you've got the pace, you've got the capability to go up the other end. And as much as this is very fortunate because it's come off of Shah, this is what you're capable of doing, because Newcastle have to go at you, and you have to you have to be able to get the ball, get the other end, and hurt them. And that's what we've done there, and that really did take the wind out of Newcastle's sails.
Yeah. No, Newcastle had to push on. They had to go in search of that goal, and always going to leave situations where they were going to be one-on-one. They did then, and again, they got punished.
12th away win of the season then in Arsenal's pocket. We hope to speak to Mikel Arteta when we come back, because psychologically it's a huge win for him after the event. 3 to play. Let's remind you who exactly they do play. Arsenal, of course, concentrating on those 3 remaining Premier League games, at home to Brighton, away at Forest, and at home to Wolves. City, with Everton away, sandwiched in between the 2 Champions League semi-finals against Real Madrid. Then Chelsea at home, Brighton away, Brentford away, and, of course, the cup final at Wembley against Manchester United. Are you seeing any chink of light at the end of the tunnel when you look at City's fixtures?
Absolutely, especially with that performance there. We have to win those 3 games: Brighton, Nottingham Forest, and Wolves. But yes, you have to fancy them to beat Everton. But then
they didn't at home.
No, they didn't.
They lost to Brentford at home.
Yeah, so you're looking at that. I can see something. You know what I mean? Obviously, it's wishful thinking, but I can see something. Whether it's Brighton or Brentford, you only need one of those games where they only get a point or they lose a game, and then, like I say, Arsenal know what they've got to do. They've got to win the games. So that's all we can focus on.
Yeah, they've done their job today. It's what they had to do. It was always going to be a tough game for them. What they've said to Man City now is, over to you. Tough fixtures for them. Everton away, Brighton, Brentford. They're not easy games, particularly when you're fighting on 3 fronts, and also with maybe the biggest in their mind in terms of the Champions League. Yeah. And you're going up against one of the giants in Real Madrid, so you just never know. Arsenal have done what they had to do today, and they've gone, right, over to you now, guys.
Yep, positive day for Arsenal. Not so for Newcastle. Let's see what their manager thinks. Here's Eddie Howe.
Well, Eddie, that's a tense, top-level game you've been involved in. How did you see it?
Fine margins for us today. Just came out on the wrong side of them. Missed some chances, some big chances in the game. Yeah, it just wasn't quite there for us today. It could have been. And it's one of those, I'm sure I'll look back and rue some big moments in the game that we didn't quite get right.
In particular, look at that first 10 minutes maybe and think that was the sliding doors moment of the match.
Yeah, I think, Jacob's chance in the first few seconds, if that goes in, it's a totally different game. Loads of little things I think that we'll look back on and go, it could have fallen our way, it didn't. But we have to take ownership of that, and we're disappointed today. Felt we probably didn't defend as well as we have done for the majority of the season today. There was a few moments where I thought we were a little bit loose. But we gave everything. I agree with your comment. It's a high-level game. I thought it was 2 teams that were going right at each other. And I think that produced a good spectacle. But we're disappointed to lose.
Yeah, and that's how far Newcastle have come. They were in a high-level game, second against third,
Definitely.
And are disappointed to lose.
Yeah, and he's right that they did have their moments. And in the big games, and he said, fine margins. In the big games, you need a little bit of luck. You also need that little bit of quality. And Newcastle just didn't have that when they needed it most today. Hit the post a couple of times. And he's right, if they go in, it's totally different. Crowd get back up again after the first 10 or 15 minutes, particularly the second half. But you have to also give credit to Arsenal because they stopped Newcastle's midfield, which has been such a huge part of what they do and how they operate. But I thought Arsenal did really well in that department, and they stopped Bruno playing. And we said before the game, so much of what Newcastle do well comes through him. And he didn't have his best game today, but it was because of the way Arsenal stopped him.
Yeah, Mikel Arteta got his tactics spot on again today.
Yeah, he did, because I think that what he wanted to make sure is that, wherever Guimaraes was, someone was in and around him, so as he couldn't turn and be comfortable, because when he does, it's a problem. And so someone was in his face, forcing him back the other way, passing it sideways, not being able to make him get into, because I was really excited about Wilson and Isak up front today, but they couldn't quite get the service. And Eddie again, I've never listened to Eddie do an interview where he doesn't talk the truth and talk sensible stuff, is that when you look at the way the game went for them, it's just the margins, with Jacob Murphy hitting the post, that changes everything. That first 10 minutes changes everything.
When we spoke before the game about those individual battles, there wasn't many Newcastle players won their individual battle. Perhaps, Murphy won his battle against Zinchenko because Mikel had to take him off because he gave him a really tough afternoon, and he's one of Newcastle's better players. But when I look at Bruno and Joe Linton and Willock and Isak against Ben White and Wilson again and Martinelli, I can't say that Newcastle won too many of those individual battles. Jorginho I thought was excellent. Odegaard I thought was superb. So when you look at it from that point of view, yes, they had key moments in the game that they didn't take Newcastle, but you've got to flip it on the other side and say how well Arsenal did.
Absolutely. Arsenal's day, one crucial game down, another